Malthus' theory of population and the theory of undercompetition. Malthus' theory of population, proposed by Thomas Robert Malthus in his 1798 work, An Essay on the Principle of Population. This theory was a pessimistic response to utopian ideas of perpetual progress. Core principles, the two postulates. Food is necessary for human existence. The passion between the sexes is necessary and will remain nearly in its present state. The two ratios from these postulates, Malthus derived his famous principle: population, when unchecked, grows at a geometric rate 1 to 4 8 16. Food supply at best can grow at an arithmetic rate 1 2 3 4 5. The imbalance, the natural tendency of population to outstrip the means of subsistence, creates a permanent struggle for existence. Positive checks, when population exceeds the food supply, positive checks or Malthusian catastrophes will restore balance. These are things that increase the death rate, famine, disease, war. Preventive checks. To avoid the positive checks, humans could exercise preventive checks, which reduce the birth rate. Malthus, a clergyman, primarily advocated for moral restraint, late marriage, and celibacy. He was critical of birth control. The iron law of wages connection. This theory was used to support the classical iron law of wages. If wages rose above the subsistence level, it would encourage workers to have more children. This would increase the labor supply, which would eventually push wages back down to the bare minimum needed for survival. Criticisms and legacy. Technological progress. Malthus failed to foresee the agricultural and industrial revolution, which allowed food production to skyrocket. Demographic transition: as societies develop, birth rates typically fall, a phenomenon not accounted for in his model. Legacy: despite its flaws, his work was hugely influential, earning economics the nickname the dismal science. It influenced Darwin's theory of natural selection and remains a reference point in discussions about resource scarcity and overpopulation. Malthus' theory of underconsumption, theory of glut. While Malthus is famous for his population theory, he also made a significant, though less successful, contribution to business cycle theory by challenging Say's law. The context: Say's law. The dominant view, championed by Jean-Baptiste Say and David Ricardo, was that supply creates its own demand. In other words, general overproduction, a general glut, in an economy is impossible. Producing goods generates the income needed to purchase their other goods. Malthus argued that general glut was possible due to failure of effective demand, a desire for a good backed by the ability to pay for it. Causes of insufficient effective demand. Oversaving by capitalists. If capitalists, the rich, save too much of their income instead of spending it on consumption, total demand for goods will fall. The parable of the two classes. Malthus identified a potential imbalance between two classes. Sorry. Capitalists, they save and invest, but if they save too much, they don't consume enough final goods. Workers, they consume, but their wages are kept as subsistence level, so their purchasing power is too low to buy all goods produced. Lack of unproductive consumers. Malthus controversially argued that a class of unproductive consumers, like landowners, servants, and soldiers, was necessary. They consume without directly adding to the supply of goods, thereby maintaining demand and preventing gluts. The outcome: this deficiency in effective demand would lead to the general surplus of goods, falling profits, and economic stagnation, a depression. Why it was overlooked and later revived. Malthus lacked a coherent theory to explain why oversaving would occur, and his solution, promoting unproductive consumption, was unpalatable to classical economists. His ideas were largely dismissed in his lifetime in favor of Ricardo's. His work was later revived by John Maynard Keynes, who credited Malthus as a precursor. Keynesian economics is built on the very idea that Malthus identified, that a deficiency in aggregate demand can lead to prolonged unemployment and economic stagnation. In summary, Malthus provided two pessimistic theories, one about the long run pressure of population on resources, and other about the short run tendency of market economics to suffer for inadequate demand.